looking at the Insta360 One X2. The camera with the ability of a production crew right in your pocket. Unfortunately, I'm using my nature voice here with all the wind, but to cut the long story short, the best way to test out this Insta360 is to use it in the way that it's intended. And we're here at the Lake Elan zipline, and let's go ahead and test it out. So the Insta360 One X2 is a 5.7K 360 camera. It has Steadicam. It has a Steadicam mode, flow state stabilization, as well as an ultra bright touch screen, which you can see here. It also has the ability of making the selfie stick invisible and is waterproof at up to 10 meters, just as it is. It has 4 cams for 360 audio, as well as time shift and voice control. So we're doing zipline number 6 now, which is called Hell's Gates. It's 680 meters across the gorge, and you can travel between 75 and 100 kilometers per hour. I'm going to say kilometers per minute. But let's see what sort of footage the Insta360 can capture on this.
Okay, so both hands on top, you said.
Give it. So the Insta360 One X2 has an ISO range of 100 to 3200 and an auto white balance covering 2400K up to 7500K. It does 360 picture resolution in 680 by 3040 in a 2:1 ratio, and it does a pano in 4320 by 1440, which is a 3:1 ratio. It does video resolution in 360 in 5.7K at 30 frames per second, 25 frames per second, as well as 24 frames per second. And it also does 4K at 50 and 30 frames per second, and 3K at 100 frames per second. It has a wide angle mode, a Steadicam mode also, in a 1560 by 1440p at 50 and 30 frames per second, as well as 1920 by 1080 in 50 and 30 frames per second. Its photo format is RAW and INSP, which is your 360 photo, and its video format is Steadicam MP4 or 360 INSV. So the connectivity, it uses USB-C. It has Wi-Fi 802.11, ABGN, what, and then it has Bluetooth 4.0, which is for connectivity with the app, right? So it also has an SD card. So I have a 128 gig SSD, 128 gig SD card, but it needs to be U3 rated because it's 4K footage and what have you, right? Battery wise, it has a 1630 milliamp hour battery, and it has a roughly 85-minute charging time. Alright, so let's get going and let's talk about some of the other features. So the one good thing is that it's Ipx8 waterproof, so that means you can play with it in water up to 10 meters, splash and everything. And then the other thing is that it can operate in temperatures from -20 up to 40 degrees. So that is actually a big plus. I mean, you can play in the snow with it and not have any issues. So the One X2, I feel like it's intended for the adventurous outdoor person who doesn't actually want to be figuring out angles and that sort of thing, because with this you're capturing it in the moment and you can figure out the angles later. And I think that's the most amazing part of this. It lets you just enjoy the moment and not worry about it later, realistically. So some of the things I like with this is the fact that it has horizon lock. So horizon lock actually levels the horizon no matter what direction you point the camera, and I think that's a really cool thing about it. And it allows you to unlock an entirely new level of action camera recording, because you just have to record and watch it keep the horizon level, right? And you put the camera in any direction and it works perfectly fine. Right, so moving on to the pros and the cons. Pros and the cons, I mean, it's rugged, it's Ipx8 waterproof up to 10 meters, and that's just straight out the box. And if you want to take it even further, you can purchase the deep sea diving kit, which can allow you to take it at least up to 40 meters if I'm correct. Alright, and then, I mean, there's so much more that we can talk about, but the content that we take out of this speaks for itself. Now to talk a bit about pricing. So the One X2 actually retails for like about 8,000, 8,500, maybe if you're lucky 7,000, right? Because it's somewhat the older model. And then the newer model, which is the One X3, the One X3 retails for about 9,000 rand. And the actual differences between the One X2 and the One X3. First of all, image sensor. The One X3 has a 48 megapixel image sensor, whereas the One X2 had a 12 megapixel image sensor. Video resolution is more or less the same, except 4K you get 60 frames per second instead of 50 with the One X2. And then single photo resolution on the One X3 you get 72 megapixels, and the One X3 you get 12. But I think the most notable difference is the fact that the touch screen on the One X2 is a 1-inch circle, but on the One X3 it's actually a 2.3-inch square, so it's a bigger control touch screen. But other than that, everything is more or less the same. Time-lapse now upgrades from 4K to 8K, and the bullet time upgrades from 3K to 4K as well at 120 frames per second. The battery size also is a slight improvement from 1,630 to 1,800. But I mean, for the couple of hundred or couple of thousand rand difference, it's up to you to decide, you know what, which one is best for you. And I mean, you can clearly tell what my choice was, seeing that I bought it now with the One X3 that's out. But I think you can produce more or less the same content or even better content with the One X2 compared to the One X3, but I'm yet to be proven wrong. So yeah guys, that's been my 2 cents all over KZN about the One X2, the Insta360 One X2. Hope you guys enjoyed it, found it insightful, and I mean, if you have any comments, leave them down below about the One X2. We have a big shout out to Donnie from Limitless Tech, who organized us an amazing price on the One X2. And I mean, that's more or less it. Hope you guys enjoyed. My name is Vishan, and I'll see you in the next video.